Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Finally, NATO reached its final point of distribution in Ukraine against the Russians, and that is NATO provided itself with fighter jets to fight the Russians on the territory of Ukraine. And that is, they used the same way, the same method to reach this goal, which is fighter jets. But they use the same whistle way of, put your foot in the door and then little by little worm yourself in. Because as you looked around, and maybe you have, you remember how they brought all kind of weapons to Ukraine, was from, low to high, which is first they started with some ammunition, then they went over there with some howitzers, and then they went with this, and they got to tanks, and now they got to airplanes. Long-range missile systems are going to be there if they're not already. So everything short of nuclear weapons, submarines, and warships, because they're not really feasible, if you know what I mean. Troops, I suspect they are over there under a certain kind of name, as would be volunteers or inspectors or military advisors. That happened before, it happens I think now, and will always happen. And we're going to find out after NATO and Russia will end this war somehow, unless it will end the way it seems to be ending, which is with nuclear war, which we're never going to find out. But anyway, what's going on here? We have obviously delivery of MiG-29s from Poland, which is the tip of the spear, and they will be delivered or they will be transferred in Ukraine to fight the Russians. There are other articles that I read that supposedly the United States would like to be able to modify the MiGs and put air-to-air missiles underneath the MiGs wings. So they want to upgrade it. So on one side is laudable. It's that Poland has the balls to expose itself and be so courageous. On the other hand, they don't expect to be hurt by anybody. Therefore, when you're not afraid of something, you can do whatever, and you shouldn't be called, if it's safe to do it. And I think it's very safe for Poland to do what it's doing, which is bring its MiG-29s to Ukraine to fight the Russians. So let's get into this little article that I have here, coming from Ukrainska, the new voice of Ukraine, Ukrainska Pravda, the same thing, March 8, 2023. Poland prepared to transfer its remaining MiG-29 jets to Ukraine. It was something that we all knew will come sooner or later. But as always, it's just they do it with Poland or a small country, and then they will start with some old Soviet or Russian, equipment, and then they will turn into HIMARS and Patriot systems. Okay? Now, Poland wants coalition to transfer MiG-29 fighters to Ukraine. Okay, and I'm quoting, the remaining part of the MiG-29s, which we have in Poland, which are operational and which are now serving in our Air Force, we stand ready to provide those planes, and I'm sure that Ukraine would be ready to use those planes instantly, because Ukraine has got pilots able to operate those machines right now, Duda said, end quote. The president noted that the armed forces of Ukraine will continue to switch to NATO standards and will ultimately use Western jets like F-16s, so the Ukrainian pilots need training now. I read some articles where Ukrainian pilots are already in the United States of America, where they will be checked a little bit, and they will start the training on the F-16s. That was reported, I think, 2 days ago now. At the same time, referring to his earlier conversation with Zelensky, he stressed that long-range artillery remains Kiev's top military necessity. That is coming, or it's already delivered. Don't worry about that. Right now, and I'm quoting, long-range artillery is needed more to repel the enemy and to avoid direct encounters, Duda added. That's going to come. So you see, after long range, there's nothing else but nuclear weapons, as I said, submarines and warships, which they will not be delivered. And I'm quoting, because the Russians are trying to crush Ukraine, crush it with the weight of their armed forces, their numbers, and their equipment. I thought that Russia sucks. I thought that its armed forces, their number and equipment doesn't have any weight. Now it has when it's about making a point. Yes, when it's about convincing idiots that it's necessary to do this because Russia has a war machine, Russia all of a sudden becomes a very strong war machine, like Saddam Hussein. And then when they report any Russian successes, or when the Russians have any they advance, oh no, actually that's just drunks, convicts, subordinates, unsubordinate personnel and rusty equipment from 1960s and all these stories. But somehow the Russians are still able to fight the modern NATO alliance plus minus European Union, NATO, United States, and the rest. So let's read the last part of this article. I think it was something else here. On 18th of February, Polish Prime Minister announced that the country is ready to transfer MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine, but only as part of a wider international initiative. It's been determined that they can do it because there will be no consequences. On February 17th, Duda said that Ukrainian forces would need fighter jets to repel threats from Russia. He said that the transfer of Soviet-era MiG-29s to Ukraine would provide support and, to a certain extent, help move towards force parity with Moscow. Okay, well, that's good to know. You do that, and then you will have no consequences, because I guarantee you that if there would be consequences, Poland will think a few times before they will move on. And the consequences could be, if those guys in Moscow would be as they're portrayed, war criminals, crazies, all that, if there would be just a little bit of nuclear threat, they will not dare. But since they know that the Russians will not use that thing to get rid of Poland in two blows or one blow, they can do this. They have the assurances. I guarantee you that they get the assurances from the Americans, and Americans have the assurances from the Russians. Because if you think that the Russians and the Americans are not in constant communication about the war, then I need about $20,000 from you until tomorrow. And tomorrow I will return the $20,000 plus 3,000% interest. Okay, we're gonna meet tomorrow after you give me the money. Okay, all right. So obviously you will not do that. So don't believe other BS. They are not in contact. They are in contact. How do you think they make sure that they don't get ahead of themselves? You know what I mean? But anyway, the Poles are going to deliver those planes, and after those will come the Typhoons, and after that will gonna come the Mirage, and then after that will gonna come the Eurofighter, and then F-16s, and then nuclear bomb, and then we meet on the bench waiting to enter for an audience to see Jesus for the how do you call that, Judgment Day. But as I said many times before, don't count on me. I'm not going to sit down. I'm going to let you go first, because I'm going to go straight down there where the interesting people are. As I think it was Nietzsche who said that, wasn't he? He said that he's not going to stay and he's not going to go for the Judgment Day. He's going to go down there to meet all the interesting people. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go and see Nietzsche instead of going over there and sing some songs. All right. See, I speak other languages too, not only sing some song. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. Sing some song.